Ben, Ben saying episode 5 renewed the dread that I dealt with this week. So I've had a lot going on this week with work. Like I've been super busy, so busy. In fact, I've been very distracted. So a couple days ago, sat down to watch my Star Wars for the week, and I watched the first half of A New Hope because I forgot what fucking week we were on.
Just me who's getting mixed up. Well, how are you getting so mixed up? We watch these every week.
I watched the first half of A New Hope this week.
To be fair, I'm editing the podcast, so I'm hyper aware of where we're at all times. I also put up the podcast, so to me, it's like, yeah, I know exactly where we are at all times, but I guess it's possible that it's not that easy for you too. So I'm so sorry.
That was fun. It was a nice, like, hour and 20 minutes of my time that...
What made you remember?
I don't remember. I don't know. There was just sudden realization of I shouldn't be doing what I'm currently doing.
Hello and welcome to Star Wars Every Week Forever, where we watch one Star Wars movie every week forever. This week, the Imperials Strike Back. How are we feeling? Ben, how was your watch?
I'm good. Yeah, sat down for a couple hours, watched some Star Wars. Luke was an asshole. It was great.
Oh, wow.
We've had a lot of, like, fuck this character so far in this podcast's lifespan. We haven't had a fuck Luke yet, I don't think.
I mean, to be fair, I gave Luke a hard time last rotation because he was kind of a dick to R2 for a second, but I didn't mean it. Chris, how was your watch, despite the fact that you accidentally watched half of A New Hope?
It was fine when I got to the proper movie. I was like, oh yeah, Empire.
Yeah. Empire's still fun.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I'm still having fun watching all of these movies for right now.
Oh yeah.
I think this podcast benefited from the fact that I distanced myself from Star Wars for so long and didn't watch it for a while, like, you know, before the sequels came out and then after the sequels came out. It was a while. So, like, I'm enjoying watching them again, even though it's rotating through all of them. Because I did this as a kid all the time anyway. So, you know.
I did the same thing. And I watched all the special features on the prequels all the time as a kid, too. And I think that one fucked me over because I was miserable through the prequels.
I've seen some of the special features over the years, but, like, I never went through and watched all of them. So, you know, I never got to learn about Steve and his possible head trauma.
I mean, to be fair, I didn't see, like, back then I only had the DVDs and the Blu-rays weren't out, so I didn't know about Steve, and I know it'll be several weeks before that episode comes out, but if anyone can find any information, tell me if Steve is all right.
We're on week 2 of Steve Watch.
Steve Watch.
Jesus Christ.
Steve Watch 2020. My watch was fine. It felt like there were less special features for this than any of the other ones before this. And I don't know if that's because this movie specifically didn't have a lot of special features or if it's because I didn't watch the 501st thing this time. Because I felt like the 501st thing, if it wasn't for the 501st thing, I would have been done way earlier last week. But yeah, I had a good time.
I need to ask Josh.
Yes.
Was there a deleted scene involving C-3PO on Hoth?
Not that I'm remembering.
Oh, no.
I mean, it could have happened, but I'm not remembering.
There is a deleted scene for this movie where, you know how when everyone starts escaping and they're running around and there's a door in the background with a yellow sign on it?
Oh yeah, when he gets pulled, it's the Wampa shit, right?
Yeah.
What?
There's a deleted scene where C-3PO walks by and rips the sign off, and some stormtroopers try to go through that door, and a Wampa grabs one of them.
I didn't make a
That's
note about it, but I
hilarious.
was extremely confused because there's an entire deleted scene subplot where
Yeah.
there's Wampas like Attack on Titan, although I shouldn't call out that fucking show, but like that kind of style in the walls of the Rebel base, and there's an entire subplot that got cut where they were like hounding the rebels as they were trying to escape and hounding the stormtroopers. And 3PO just kind of walks up to a door that the Wampa is in, tears off like the do not enter sign,
The
I
warning
assume is what it is, and
Yeah.
keeps walking. I'm like, well, that was confusing. And then keeps going. It was weird. Now that I think about it, it's quite funny, and I should have made a note about it.
It's one of my favorite things about this movie, because every time I see that door, I'm like, well, there was so much fun to be had with that.
My exact note was there's a bunch of cutscenes of the Wampa inside the Rebel base as well, so they were going to add a second Wampa and the Rebels escape from Hoth. It's weird. That's my exact note on all of that. Can I talk about the cut extended scene of Han and Leia arguing on Hoth? It's pretty bad.
Bad.
I want to know what from that horrible scene they went, you know what, we need to cut this. Like, this adds
So
nothing.
it's right after Han says you could use a good kiss and walks off. He comes back and he says, and I quote, "You've been so busy being a princess that you haven't learned how to be a woman. I could have helped you, but it's too late. Your big opportunity is flying out of here, sweetheart, right now." And
Fucking hey,
oh god,
could
the
get
fucking
worse.
misogyny just fucking dripping off of the line is absolutely infuriating. Yeah, I'm glad that got cut.
Yeah, it's always been crazy to me how much of an overt asshole Han is in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
it's
how,
so
like,
much worse. It's so much worse in a lot of the deleted scenes too.
Yeah. Like, and how that evolves into like, oh, he's a hero of the Republic, and those two are madly in love, and like, holy shit, dude, like, like, that's the one thing. As much as I love the EU and I love them being married and everything, like, it's the one thing I will give the sequel trilogy. In that,
Oh
I
yeah.
feel like
Oh, yeah.
they did the much more realistic version of that relationship where like, Han went back to being a piece of shit.
One thing to
Yeah.
remember when you're talking about this movie is that Irvin Kershner was more hands-on. This was the movie that George was the least hands-on of any Star Wars movie in the first 6 movies. Irvin Kershner, like, so much so that George was, when they were filming, I assume reshoots, if not the original shoots in London or in the UK, George was back in the States working on the AT-AT editing scenes. So he wasn't even on set for that. And the impression you get is that Irvin Kershner was a completely different director than George. I know Mark Hamill has said that in a sense he was frustrating and different from George because he was always talking to them about their character, about their trying to get their best acting performance out of them by talking about how their characters are feeling and their motivation and stuff like that. Whereas George, based on what I've seen, will tell them how to say the line and then show them their blocking by doing it. And I think that contributes to why this is the best, like, most fluid acting in the entire, like, 6 movies that George has. Because it flows way better because it doesn't feel like anybody's trying to constrain them. But then again, the ad-lib show with scenes like, I could have taught you to be a woman, and that fucking holy shit.
Jesus Christ.
And also Mark Hamill smacking his head off of Yoda's hut 17
That's fantastic.
times.
That's so fantastic. That's my
Luke?
favorite thing that's come from this podcast is me learning that information.
Okay, I have a pitch, and then I'll get out of the special feature so we can talk about the movie. I have learned the original name for Yoda.
Oh. There was
And through
another
this-
name?
We'll get back around to it, but I want to say I learned that all of the impish scenes of Yoda, like Yoda leading him into the hut and everything else, was done by Irvin Kershner. They were not in the original script. So essentially, humorous Yoda, or Yoda putting up a front, was Irvin Kershner's invention. That was not George. And when I found this out, prequel Yoda made so much more sense. So I have a proposition. When Yoda is acting in the Irvin Kershner way, which is the likable Yoda, like this slightly humorous old Jedi Master, we call him Yoda. But when he's not, we'll go with George's original name, which is Minch.
Minch.
Like with an N? Minch?
With an N, Minch.
Okay.
Minch.
It's so fucking good.
It sounds like a British insult. Compared to Mitchy little bastard.
It sounds like someone's trying really hard to make a curse word out of Mitch McConnell's name without realizing that Mitch McConnell's name is already a curse word.
Oh my god.
So fucking good. So that's my proposition. From now on, when we're dealing with Dick Yoda and Cult Yoda, that's Minch. But when we're dealing with Empire Yoda, Playful Yoda, that's Yoda. That is my pitch.
Christ.
Ben, well, first off,
no.
did you have something to say? Because I feel like you were starting something and then it got lost in Minch somewhere.
Sorry.
Lost in Minch.
Well, that's the episode title.
I need a moment. Fucking. I feel like Luke just doesn't give a shit about R2 throughout this movie.
Yeah, but R2 gets his revenge.
Every time Luke is going to do something, he tells R2 to just stay where he is. Because he doesn't care if R2's involved in anything.
Yeah.
Hey, R2, I'm gonna go see where this old hermit lives.
The droids are
watch
treated
the
like
camp.
the droids are treated like shit in this movie.
Yeah.
But R2, I made a note, like, I don't know if it was I didn't watch Empire pre-podcast, so this would be the first podcast, about how Luke treats R2 like shit in the swamp. And then I did make a note that I never mentioned that R2 gets his revenge because he kind of fucks up Luke's concentration on raising the X-Wing. Because as soon as he starts to drop the X-Wing, it's because R2's beeping a bunch. I just find that funny now.
Also learned last week, and I never mentioned it, that apparently in the original versions of the script, R2 spoke English.
Really?
Just spoke words, and apparently was incredibly foul-mouthed. And George Lucas decided to change it.
I need to get the others. But I have they made a series of books called William Shakespeare's Star Wars.
Yeah.
I have no idea what this is.
I have the A New Hope one, and I was reading it at one point, but I'm saving it for one of our watch-throughs. So I will be, along with the movies, reading each stage production, I guess it would be called.
That's a great idea.
What?
And R2 actually has lines in this book, and it's fucking hilarious because he's like a mastermind.
That's a great idea, doing a rotation while also reading those horrible fucking books.
I don't think they're horrible.
I don't
mean,
care much for Shakespeare in general, so anything Shakespearean in style, it's.
Oh my god. So, I was thinking about something else because I forgot to get a link for my suggestion for the week, and my brain kind of spaced out for a second. I thought you said William Shatner's Star Wars.
Oh my god.
Well, I want that.
I want that really badly.
Oh no, I was wrong. It is still just beeps and squeaks and stuff, but it's somewhat like with the logic of this, it's someone standing there going beep beep, squeak, weird.
To beep or not to beep.
God damn it. All right, I'm moving away from Shakespeare.
Yeah.
Speaking of books, Ben, I learned some crushing news this week.
Oh,
For
I'm
you.
scared.
Um,
Me? No.
Yes, and I'm so excited because I get to be the one to bring up pod racing for this episode.
You motherfucker. Why would you?
Has nothing
Welcome-
to do with this movie, but welcome
Welcome,
to this podcast.
Chris, to the dark side.
Oh no, you're not going to be you're not going to want to welcome me after this. So, there's a book that is current canon, the Galaxy's Edge Black Spire tie-in book for the theme park.
Sure.
In that, it is revealed that pod racing under Imperial rule has been completely outlawed.
I mean, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, because you're supposed to hate the Empire.
Oh my god.
No, but like,
Because they banned pod racing.
the Republic should have made that illegal. Like, anybody that looks at pod racing and goes, that seems like an entirely legitimate sport for you to go out and do, is fucking insane.
Yeah, they apparently the main character goes to a diner because we get our second confirmed canon space diner in this book also.
I want to interrupt for a second to say Chris and I are in a Star Wars game right now, and I built into my backstory a diner just because I knew we would go to it because I wanted to hear Chris's reaction.
Motherfucker.
All right, continue.
But apparently the character goes into a diner, the space diner, and apparently meat is being cooked over the engine of a pod racer. And she then discovers, that it's illegal, and she hears about illegal races taking place. So there's underground pod racing.
I mean, there was
the prequels.
There was underground pod racing because apparently it was illegal on Coruscant in the EU, because that's how the Sonoma Sakat prequel tie-in started. Because, like, I'm trying to remember. Essentially, they did a book. If you don't know, Sonoma Sakat is a really important, like, living planet to the Yuzhan Vong series, which was, like, one of the last massive projects of the EU. It started, like, 2001 and went for, like, 5 years. But they did a prequel book where Obi-Wan and Anakin go to the planet while it's in the space looking for a Jedi that went missing. And in that book, at the beginning, Anakin gets chastised by Obi-Wan, who has to go down there and pull him out of an illegal race.
Yeah, we've talked about that before, because that's where Ben began his conspiracy theory of Obi-Wan hearing about pod racing and taking Ben Quadrinos' name when dying.
And we killed that. We killed that dream.
Did we? Did we though?
But yeah, I went to Disney around the New Year, and they had the Black Spire and everything open, and they actually have one of the I want to call it a restaurant, but it's like you grab your food and go. But when you walk into this building, it like you said, it's a giant pod racer, and it's supposed to look like they got a rotisserie under it, cooking some giant fucking whatever the hell.
Oh my god.
Have you ever noticed just how much Han and Leia's names are mispronounced in these movies?
No.
It's a lot.
I caught it once or twice, but
It's like at least 3 times collectively each movie.
Luke mispronounces his home planet in this movie.
And I really truly believe it's because of George, because they did a documentary on the 30th year of Empire Strikes Back, and fucking I've mentioned that George mispronounced Hoth as Hoth in like one of the prequels. He mispronounces Han's name as Han, like the entire way through the goddamn thing.
Han's,
it's like
that's something I've heard a lot though. Like
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have
I've heard
heard
people say Han before.
real people in real life pronounce it
not-
to me that way.
That's
And
not
I'm
their
like,
fault
ugh.
because like the movies do that. We know it's Han and Leia, not Han and Leia. But the movies themselves, every once in a while, will put Han and Leia into it, and it makes no fucking sense. Especially on Leia's side, because she's supposed to be fucking royalty.
And also, like, that's an actual fucking name. Like, that is a not very uncommon name. Leia.
I'd like to talk a moment about something I did not bring up in our first watch, because there was a lot going on. My absolute favorite scene in the entirety of the Star Wars franchise is when they are led into the ambush on Cloud City.
Yes.
And the doors open and there's Darth Vader. Because it's so fucking batshit insane to me. It is so fucking absurd that the goddamn, like, Darth Vader, of all people, has to ambush them by being behind a door. With fucking Boba Fett flanking him, and the door's open, and the look on everyone's face is hysterical.
I mean, logically.
It never gets old.
Logically, if he didn't do it that way, he would have sent. Well, actually, he could have literally, since everybody was fine with him being there, he could have literally just stormed their rooms one night and been like, yeah.
They could have done anything. They could have just been waiting. As soon as they landed and turned the corner, there's Darth Vader and a bunch of stormtroopers. No, he set up this elaborate, like, all right, Lando.
He sets up
You're going to meet them at the landing pad and bring them to me. I'm going to be standing behind the table.
Yeah, I mean, this is the same guy that kills multiple officers in this movie because they mildly displeased them, and you think that he decided, okay, I would like to bring them to this table that I have set up, and we're going to have a nice dinner. I cannot eat any of it because I shit through a tube and breathe through a breathing apparatus. But once they're done, maybe he just needed to live through osmosis watching people eat.
At least him force choking officers to death is on theme of, like, crazy, evil, like, villain character. This is
That's
so
what I mean.
This is so dumb.
It's so out of place with his character and the rest of the movie. That's why I brought those up. But like maybe he just maybe he doesn't hang around people very much, so he doesn't get to have people eat much. So he just sits there and watches them eat while there's stormtroopers holding blaster rifles to their head, and he's like, a stemless pear. I remember those.
I like to think it's like sense of humor Anakin bleeding over a little bit with just that douchebag sense of humor, like, no, it's going to be great. You don't understand. Lead them to the room. The looks on their face will be priceless.
I feel like they just wanted a crazy James Bond villain scene.
Yeah.
It's like, he'll set up a banquet.
The only way that scene would be better for me at this point is if the doors open and Vader's like, Han Solo.
No.
Just to piss off Ben.
I want a really nice dinner for when I meet my daughter's new boyfriend.
I mean, let's be honest. There's EU content in a famous picture that I've seen of him finding C-3PO's head, and being like, I remember you. So maybe he was just celebrating that 3PO was still out there. He's like, I just found out that my droid I built when I was 10 is still out there. I'm in a good mood. Before I torture you for no reason and don't ask you any questions, please sit down and eat with me.
I'm going to force float a stemless pear across the table and cut it for you.
Reminds me of your mother. told you guys about Padme.
My tears. They're steaming the glass. I can't see.
It's all right. I have windshield wipers in here.
Stop. Holy fuck.
Oh my god.
This is my favorite bit we've ever done on the podcast.
This is the episode that's going to show everyone just how broken we are.
I didn't think we could derail more than we did with the 30-minute Rick McCallum segment.
Oh, holy shit. I can't get that image out of my head now.
Lando's first reaction to Darth Vader changing the deal should have been that banquet. Like, when the guy who's forcibly taking your city goes, "Oh, yes, and I want a banquet, and all of the rebels will be there." Lando, that should have been the first second where Lando's like, "Fucking what?"
Marvel Comics, it's in your court right now to hire us to write an Empire Strikes Back related comic in which we just have this dinner. Let us write this dinner for you.
I just want that awkward, the door's open, Han reaches for his blaster. I just want Billy D. What the fuck is this?
Just Vader sitting there stirring shit, saying, "So, I heard that you won the Millennium Falcon in a game of cards. How do you feel about that, Lando?"
Mr. Solo, pass the bread.
The funniest thing about this to me is that he can't eat. He literally can't eat in this entire scenario, so he just
I'm just picturing like them sitting there eating like soup or something, and just like there's stormtroopers behind them with blaster rifles pointed, and just camera cuts to Vader at the end of the table, hands folded on the table, just staring.
He's like stormtrooper go next to Darth Vader, and like there's a little like funnel they put into a part of his helmet to pour the soup in.
Vader just has a fucking baseball park beer hat.
My god.
Oh,
this is so worth it. This is my favorite thing to come out of the podcast so far. I've never been more delighted in my fucking life.
I'm just so happy. This scene has always been my favorite, and I fucking die laughing every time it comes on, because this is the kind of shit that plays out in my head when I see it. So I'm glad it's not just me.
No, this never happened to me. I never thought of the ramifications until you brought it up, and now
I don't think I ever thought of the natural conclusion of that scene.
I'm so happy.
Like, I just, what was the end of that scene? Like, they're awkwardly sitting there eating, and it's just awkward silence, then, all right, time to go put your boyfriend in carbonite.
No, it's not
but first, I want to torture him for no reason.
In this scenario that we've set up, it's even better that he tortures him for no reason, because we have already implied that he knows that Leia is his daughter inside of the scene we've set up in his head. So he was like, "So, you're dating my daughter." Torture. Stay really close to this heat for a really long time. Do you feel the heat, Solo? I will come at if you hurt her. I will come at you with the burning force of 1,000 suns. Just the worst dad.
Mr. Solo, what are your intentions for my daughter? Oh my god.
And poor fucking Chewie's just like locked up waiting to see what the fuck happened to Han after the banquet.
Speaking of,
Before we get away from that, it has always really bothered me because like that scene in general bothers me, but the fact that he just fucking puts a hand out like a fucking catcher's mitt and just absorbs fucking blaster bolts. Like, yeah, like
I could do that.
like what the fuck? It's so stupid.
Well, that's actually a force ability. Believe it or not.
Everything's a force ability. Also, is that supposed to be like his like robotic hand? Is that why it blocks it, or is that just
No, like that's actual.
Oh my
like
God.
it's called
So why-
Tutaminis.
So why do they bother blocking it with the lightsaber if they can just put the hand out?
It's a very, very uncommon ability. It's used to block blaster bolts and, in some cases, actual lightsabers with your hands.
Not to take away the happiness. But you brought up 3PO and Chewie.
Oh, my head hurts.
I'm not going to help that. I have to point out that 3PO says that while Chewie is sitting there poking at his circus, that it feels good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's vaguely sexual.
This,
Don't.
fucking-
I don't want to go through this as much as the last one.
what this experiment is doing to me right now is making me appreciate The Empire Strikes Back
It's so
for
good.
reasons, every other reason than what it's normally appreciated for.
My God.
The Empire Strikes Back is the greatest movie ever made, is what we're discovering today.
Yeah.
For reasons that nobody fully realized.
Yeah.
The Empire Strikes
Uh.
Back up to this point was my second favorite movie ever. It is now my first.
God.
Because I just won't be able to stop thinking about the fucking dinner scene.
And wow.
Holy shit.
I choose to believe Han made like an offhanded comment about how he didn't like one part of the dinner and that's why he got tortured for no information.
So,
This steak's a little rough.
you don't like stemless pears. That's the third stemless pear reference we've made this fucking episode. 2 of which was me, so I apologize.
So, does anyone here like pod race?
I'm the only human who can do it. Oh my god. So, to get us off this subject, as much as
Oh
I
my
don't
God.
want to,
I just got the mental image of Darth Vader entering an underground pod race. I'm filled with such joy from this image.
now
in my
this
head.
is pod racing.
Oh my god.
Marvel Comics, call us up. We have content for you.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah, we're writing the next Vader comic. Just it's us. Just this.
No, don't. It's a trap.
You know that critically acclaimed Vader comic y'all did? Right here.
We're
sequel.
gonna fuck it all up. We're gonna Kevin Smith it all up.
Oh, I love Kevin Smith so much, but it's true.
I do too, but it's true. We're gonna do. It's gonna be called we're gonna pitch it as the sequel to that Darth Vader comic series, but it's just going to be about Vader on his leisure time. That's all it's going to be.
We could actually make a TV series out of this.
It's just that's where we find out that he has 24/7. That there's 2 channels inside of the pod where Vader sort of goes into that cryostasis to heal himself, and it's one live pod racing streams, and it's 2 people burning sand into glass, and that one's for when he's angry.
So you've made a joke, but also this would be hysterical done in like the style of that fucking Harley Quinn animated show on that DC service.
Yes.
My God.
Marvel
No, I got it.
us.
We'll call it Downtime Darth.
Well, now I have to choose between Lost in Minch and Downtime Darth.
Lost in Minch. I forgot about Minch. With everything else going on, I forgot about Minch.
Oh God, I'm not gonna be able to decide.
Oh.
Thank God we're not lucid.
Fuck.
So, before we go on to minute 22 of this particular section, I learned something really stupid about the AT-AT. Well, I learned several things, but I'll leave the other one for the end of the podcast because it's going to take a lot to process. But do you know what the snow in the AT-AT scenes were made up of?
No, but I'm scared.
Baking soda.
Oh, I did know about that. Yeah.
They had to wear goggles and face masks, and it still made them deeply sick, and it actually long-term deeply harmed the cameras.
Jesus Christ.
And then there's one guy I can't get out of my head. I knew that there was something unusual about this guy that I felt really bad about, but it only just sunk in. So the AT-ATs, the AT-ATs, whatever, I always call them AT-ATs.
If you call them AT-ATs, you're dead to me.
Well, apparently that's the right way to pronounce it because everybody
No,
does
it is
that.
not.
But to me, it's AT-ATs.
I refuse.
In order to do the stop motion, they couldn't disturb the baking soda snow. So the guy that did it had to be under the set. So he would get up out of it to move it just barely and then go back under. And I said in my original notes that must suck on the back. But then I remember that it's made out of baking soda. He had to spend like 2 days under an entire stage of baking soda. Oh my God, that man! Does that man have cancer now? I'm pretty sure, like, that man is not okay. That man has to have long-term effects from that.
We'll add him to Steve Watch. We'll try to figure out what
Where's
happened to
baking
him.
soda, man? My God. There's something that I just noticed on this watch through, and it's so little, but it made me so fucking happy. So immediately after the dinner party, which we can't escape from now, when they drop Han Solo off in the prison cell with Chewbacca, the stormtrooper who's on Han's left, his helmet is barely on his fucking head for that whole scene, and I just realized it, and I couldn't stop staring at it. Because, like, he walks in and his helmet's, like, on sideways almost. Like, this man did not know where he was walking.
I mean, none of them do. That's the God's honest truth. Like,
and as they're leaving, the helmet's still, like, I swear to God, if it wasn't so dark, you could probably see the back of his head.
like I told you about what happened to 3PO on the set of Revenge of the Sith. Like, that's a common occurrence. Oh my god, that reminds me. So obviously they ended up cutting out the Wampa in this movie and adding a newer version later. But the original version, they hired a 7'4" man to play the Wampa, and they put him on 2-foot stilts,
Jesus.
and they filmed him in the fucking snow. And I watched what might as well have been a gag reel of that poor man falling over and
my
over
God.
and over again. Now,
Oh
keep
my
in
God.
mind, if pro wrestling has taught me anything, joint pain for someone that's 7 foot and over is the fucking worst. I can't, like, that one day must have caused him a lifetime of joint pain. And it didn't even end up in the movie. Ugh.
The So I'm just imagining how they put out ads for like extras to pose as aliens.
Oh, yeah.
Like, help wanted, a an acting troupe of below average height people to play the Ugnuts.
In the episode 2 special features, they do a web documentary on they're like, all the web documentaries are like 9 minutes long or so. They do a short one on the extras in Attack of the Clones, specifically, if I remember correctly, on the bar, on the cantina on Coruscant. And there's a guy that was in the A New Hope cantina scene, I believe, if I remember correctly, as an extra, who they spend a little bit of time with, and he describes his role in Star Wars as being a star beyond Pluto, and that was very sweet to me.
Aww.
Yeah. A star just beyond Pluto, I think, is the... I don't want to tell that man that Pluto's not a planet, because that was before that happened. A twinkle beyond Pluto, I think it was.
My knee-jerk reaction is to still argue that Pluto is a planet, even though I know it isn't.
Yeah, that's that American education system for you.
I'm still, because I was in school when that happened.
It happened after I got out of school, if I remember correctly. Maybe.
I'm still salty about it.
So the special features of this movie pulled a dirty trick on me.
Oh.
So the way that the Blu-rays are divided up, there's the documentaries themselves that are often just TV spots that are on one disc. And all the movies are on 6 discs, and then there's a disc for the prequels and a disc for the original trilogy. And in them, each movie is had, and then it's divided by planets, because for some reason they thought that was good organization. Then in them, there's interviews and collections in one area. There's deleted scenes in one area. There's concept art in one area. And then there's something called the collection. And the collection is essentially all of the miniatures and everything that they work on, and some of the matte paintings and stuff like that. And the one on Boba Fett's armor, they snuck in the made-for-TV episode of Star Wars where Boba Fett debuted into it.
The holiday special.
No. This was a
Yes.
cartoon.
Yes.
It's not the holiday special. It's not the holiday special.
It is the holiday special, and you'll see in December.
Oh, god damn it. Why would you confirm that now? Oh,
Because
fuck.
I'm
How
going
close?
to make you guys do it no matter what.
I have to look at the... Oh, 12/2. This episode is being released on the 2nd of December. So I guess, yeah, here's the big announcement. We're doing the holiday special as an extra episode. But is that really that? Because...
I mean, you're both wrong.
There was an animated section of the holiday special where Boba Fett premiered.
Yes.
Yeah.
But technically, you're both wrong.
Technically, he first premiered, I believe it was in a parade in California.
Yes, yes, that's what I was going
What
to
the
say.
fuck?
It was a county fair.
Don't you worry, Chris. I know my shit.
He marched in the county fair.
I
It's
knew
the
it was a
fucking Darth
parade
Vader.
in California. I forgot what exactly it was,
Did
but
that
that was
guy
his
collapse?
first appearance.
It was the San Anselmo County Fair Parade. Country Fair
that makes sense.
Parade, I'm sorry.
That makes sense because there was a guy that had like an image of a fair in like the chrome half-made one, so that makes sense. But yeah, I watched it. It was fine. The fucking faces on this thing, holy shit.
Han Solo's is my favorite.
Yeah, it's a lot.
That holiday special is a nightmare, and I am not looking forward to that.
I've never seen it.
Although we
my
just discovered recently, aren't they
God.
doing some Lego Star
Yeah,
Wars
they're doing
holiday
like a
special
Yes,
too?
I was perusing Reddit the one day and I saw a picture about a Lego Star Wars holiday special and I was very intrigued. I haven't looked into it yet though.
God.
Did I mention that they watched they rewatched the holiday special in order to get inspired for rebuilding Kashyyyk in episode 3? That's
No.
something they legitimately said in the special
Jesus.
features. In order to prepare to create Kashyyyk, we watched the Star Wars holiday special.
Currently, I'm not sure if the holiday special is canon or not.
I fucking assume not.
Believe so?
I assume
was
Chewbacca's
it
dad.
ever was it ever technically canon?
I don't know.
I think it was, yeah, because.
But it is, segments of it are referenced in The Mandalorian season 1.
Because Lobaka is
Oh,
canon,
God.
or was canon in the EU.
Well,
And
yeah, I mean,
in-
that's
In the first episode of The Mandalorian, they reference Life Day, which is the holiday from the holiday special. So I'm not sure, and I'm very,
Oh God, that's right.
very
Yeah.
confused and curious.
Life Day
and
was
worried.
canon in the EU as well, so.
Yeah, that's the thing. They borrowed stuff obviously and Lobaka, but I fucking hope that George Lucas never considered that to be like the whole thing to be canon.
Isn't there a vaguely sexual scene with
Yeah,
Chewie's dad watching
there's
like,
soft porn.
soft
Yes.
porn? Oh God, I'm not looking forward to that.
Sorry, I'm gonna
Anyway,
The Star Wars
I'm gonna
Holiday
sit down.
Special is technically in Star Wars canon, which means that the events depicted are part of the greater continuity that includes the other
Yeah.
films, novels, comics, video games,
Isn't
etc.
it technically only like 20 minutes?
I don't know. The thing I watched, I'm pretty sure was 20 minutes because that's why I was annoyed. I'm like, this is fine, but like
Yeah.
these are never this fucking long. It felt like 12 minutes. It's hard to tell because it has this weird DVD thing they do where the entirety. So there's like options to zoom in and like see specific things, and it's all considered one MP4 file. So when I'm watching on the Xbox One, I have to bring it up, and it like takes up a small part of that bar, but it sure seemed like at least 20 minutes long.
Yeah, I think the holiday specials like close to a half hour, 20 minutes, something like that.
No, the holiday
It's gotta
special is
be
an
an
hour and a
hour.
half.
Yeah,
Is
it's
it
gotta be-
really?
Yeah,
because,
1 hour,
like I
37
said,
minutes.
I have never. Well, I mean, I've never seen the full thing anyway. I've only seen bits and pieces, but I was trying to find it in preparation for us doing this. I couldn't
There
find
is a-
anything longer than like 20 minutes.
There is a full cut on YouTube,
Is it?
Oh,
You're gonna have to
God.
send that to me so
which
I have
is
it.
where we're gonna be getting it from.
Yeah, I was about to say you're gonna have to
Yeah.
send that to me.
There is a short audio glitch in it
Oh,
where you
shit.
can't hear R2 when they're introducing the characters, but other than that, it's perfect.
Super excited.
It's because George Lucas did everything in his power to bury that thing. And
Yeah.
if George Lucas was trying to get rid of it, you know it was bad.
I can't wait to see
I'm
Chewie's dad get
excited.
real turned
Real
on.
excited. I'm real excited about Lumpy.
Oh.
Oh God.
So I discovered where AT-ATs come from, and it was an
Bigger
unpleasant
AT-ATs.
When a
What?
mommy AT-AT and daddy AT-AT
I
like
will
each
say-
other very much.
I will say there's the pre-visualizations have some of the AT-ATs hopping around like bunny rabbits, and it made me very happy. Like there's one walking like an AT-AT in the front, and then one in the back just hopping like a bunny rabbit. It's very good.
Oh, God.
So the idea for AT-ATs came from the 60s and 70s when General Electric was working on builds of robotic all-terrain transport. It was essentially concept art done by a guy named Sid Mead for the U.S. Steel brochure. They would essentially be, the art is cargo vehicles that are similar to the AT-ATs, but not, they're the same concept. They're essentially short and stout and have these big legs, but that don't stretch up anywhere near as high, and they're just carrying cargo. And the reason why I was very unhappy with this realization was that I found out that that was a U.S. Army-funded research project. Which is like, yeah, great, thanks. Had to know that.
Honestly, the least surprising thing I've heard.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, doesn't it?
I mean, how far
the US
away
Army
are we?
Has funded some pretty ridiculous stuff.
I mean,
really
how
look at it
in the year 2020? How far away are we from like fucking Elon Musk, meme lord, making like AT-ATs and being like, "Look what I did," as they're disintegrating human beings on the streets?
Yeah.
Like, look, guys, look what I did. Lol.
I did it for you.
Look at this. Yeah, exactly.
You love me because I'm a troll, right?
It's being piloted by my brain-chipped pigs.
Don't you love it? I'm killing you all. Isn't it the greatest troll thing I've ever done? I'm firing on you with my AT-ATs.
He packs people into them, then ships them to Mars.
There's just, I can't wait
There's
for
just
10 years from
thrusters
now.
on the feet.
I can't wait for like 10 years from now when there's another Tesla and an AT-AT orbiting the Earth because he shot them into space.
Oh my god. What an asshole.
Oh my god.
I do the AT-AT though. I love how it set the precedent for walkers in the Star Wars universe.
Well, the AT-STs were in this movie.
Yeah, I know, but like the AT-AT is the one that you're looking at. Like that's the spectacle.
Yeah.
And,
Chicken walkers are so inefficient.
but like the expanded universe just takes that concept of a walking machine and fucking runs with it.
Yeah, yeah.
There was some ridiculous design choices.
My favorite thing The Last Jedi does, and I still like that whole segment. They have like the upgraded AT-ATs in The Last Jedi, but the only real difference at first that you notice is that the head is a little bit more like it's a little bulkier, and they have like more supports on the legs, so you can't really do the old tricks that they did with the AT-ATs. I'm like, oh, that's just the upgraded AT-AT. It's nice of them to just make an upgraded version of an old vehicle. And then you just see regular AT-ATs in one of the shots, like that are like 1/4 the size, and I'm like,
yeah, they're
why
like
does it have to
dwarf.
be a dick measuring contest?
Because it's Kylo Ren.
Which reminds me, a neat little thing that I'm sure nobody cares about. So the Empire crew got like really hyper obsessed with making scale apparent based on lights. So what they would do is they would put rigging through the Star Destroyers when they were filming them so that there was like 1,000 little lights inside of it. But the problem became when they finally, like, they begged George to make a new Imperial Star Destroyer for Vader, because originally they were just going to have they were just going to paint one blue and make it look bigger on screen, and that was going to be it. But they, one, knew that blue wouldn't look good, and two, they knew that they would probably they would have to take a Star Destroyer off the set and paint it, and they wouldn't have that Star Destroyer for reshoots because they only had the one. They had different.
One model.
Well, yeah, they have one model for every scale. There's not like a million of them. There's just the one filmed over and over again at different scales. So there's like a mini one, and there's like one that's 3 feet long, and there's like one that's 8 feet long. So they ended up
not
having.
necessarily true for everything, but that's something I'll get into next week.
Well, it's true for the majority of what they do, especially on the prequels. Well, not even the prequels, because a lot of that was
the OT.
Anyway, Yeah. In the OT, that's generally true for Empire and Jedi. But anyway, they had them redesign it, and they realized that they couldn't put that many lights inside of it because they were already like stretching the amount of lights you could fit into one of these damn things. So they ended up hollowing it out in the middle and just putting like blue Christmas lights throughout the middle of it, and then putting like strategic cuts in the design so it looked like windows, and it really came out really well for what they ended up doing with it. Because like their thought process was, it's like being in a plane over a city. You can tell the size of the city based on the amount of lights in it, was their thought process, and it works really well. Like, I remember Rogue One didn't have those lights in it, and the scale immediately felt off.
So that's the origin of the Super Star Destroyer then, pretty much?
Yeah, they basically begged George, hey, you're going to want us to remake this thing anyway, why don't we just make a whole new one? Yeah.
Oh my god.
It was just going to be a
That's like
blue Star Destroyer.
That's like my favorite fucking capital ship design
Have you ever...
in Star Wars.
It's so good. My favorite is the Mon Calamari cruiser. Have you ever seen the underside of the Mon Calamari cruiser?
Yeah.
At least the original model. What is it?
Oh no, not the original model. I thought you meant like in like canonical.
Yeah, in canonical, but not the original model. I'm really glad that this didn't end up on screen. The guy who made the model was really upset about it. It's essentially just cargo boxes all the way through the bottom of the Mon Calamari cruiser, and it looks like shit. Like, the Mon Calamari cruiser is so interesting because of the shape of it, but like the bottom area just looks like it has like 1,000 little cargo boxes because that was the idea. It was a cargo cruiser originally, and it looks so awful. I'm glad that that never made it into the movie so that people could look at it and go, that thing probably has a pretty neat looking underside, and you don't ever have to see all those cargo boxes.
Oh yeah,
The guy-
they're just little like pods, right?
Nope. They were like crates. Like 1,000,000 little crates.
I'm looking at Mon Cala cruisers right now.
Yeah, but it's not, the canon version is not the model.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay,
You're saying the
yeah.
original design. Yeah.
The
that's what I
original-
was afraid you were saying, because I was like, wait a minute.
The
'Cause
original
all my
model
knowledge is in universe.
Yeah, that was the original model they made, and then everything that came after it never knew that, and were like, that's not needed. So it never was seen again, and I'm really glad it wasn't, because that looked like shit.
I learned a while ago, Nebulon Bs, the medical cruiser that they're on at the end,
Sure, I did not know that name.
those were originally Imperial ships.
Hmm.
And nobody knows what the fuck the Empire was trying to do with them. Because at first they were supposed to be like fighter transports, but you can't fit anything in them because they're tiny.
That was also the first special edit change, way before anybody knew.
What's
They
that?
they redid all of the miniatures on that entire scene after the movie came out in theaters.
Oh shit.
Like the month after, because George wasn't happy with the scale of it. So they redid the entire thing. So that Empire Strikes Back was edited incomprehensibly from theatrical release to home video release, way before they started tempering with it in the 90s. That I found out today, and it looks better.
I have a question.
Sure.
At the end of the movie, when Luke has his hand in everything and they're all staring out the window,
Mhm.
what the fuck are we looking at?
I think it's the edge of the galaxy. As I understand it, they're hanging out like
Because I
just
know there have
outside
been
the outer rim.
several debates about this.
As I understand it, they found like a section of the outer rim where they're just like right on the edge of the galaxy, and
That's
either
more
that
than
or
the edge of the
core-
galaxy, because
yeah.
you could see the whole galaxy.
yeah, or it's the core worlds, because the idea of the core worlds is that you can see that from the outside. So I don't know. It's just meant to look cool, and it looks cool.
I know, but it bothers me because we don't have an answer. They're just like, yeah, put some fucking space shit out there. I don't know.
I feel like this episode of the podcast, not Star Wars, this episode of the podcast has really cemented for me the direction we're going here.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, no, because I think I think perhaps we've not stated enough that like we are not serious people, and this is 100% like a comedy
Yeah,
satire
we got
podcast.
we got dangerously close to being like critical in the sequel trilogy,
Yeah.
and I think that threw some people off. And I will always say that the best way to start this podcast is starting episode 1 and not doing the pre-podcast thing. We are not going to be like, we might say something critical every once in a while, but you should take it with a grain of salt because it is not natural what we're doing.
No. You mean like this or everything that we do? Because
Yeah.
it's just our lives, you know? Yeah.
I'm a big hater of CinemaSins.
Yeah.
Because I think needless fucking nitpicking to death is like the death of proper critique. But that's what this podcast is, because we don't have a choice, because we have to talk for an hour every week. So it's just a matter of sitting here and watching a movie we've already watched a million times. One that we watched like 9 weeks ago, and just whatever fucking bullshit comes to mind we talk about. It's a comedy podcast. Yeah. It's a slightly dark comedy podcast because of the concept.
Also, to be clear, we don't have to sit down every week. We've done this to ourselves, and also, we're suffering, but we're enjoying suffering.
Yeah,
also, to be
had a lot
clear,
of fun with it.
Also, to be clear, the name is Star Wars Every Week Forever. So you better be fucking sitting down every week with us.
No, absolutely not. In fact, my preference and my favorite people that would watch this podcast, and we almost had one person do it, but they wussed out. I would really like to just have one regular listener to the podcast that has never seen Star Wars. Never. I just want one person that has never seen Star Wars to only experience Star Wars through this fucking podcast, because I would love to hear the feedback.
Can you imagine, especially the way we talk about Phantom Menace? Like, yeah, no, I look forward to the coming weeks and months and rotations, because I think with this second watch through, we have fully gotten into the rhythm of like, we're going to talk about the movie occasionally, but then also we're going to spend 20 minutes on some.
Well, that's like my one coworker. Because obviously I talk about this at work and I advertise the hell out of it at work. And my one coworker's like, Ben, what's going to happen when your audience gets bored? I'm like, well, first of all, I'm not really like, at least to me, I'm not here to get a following.
Yeah.
I'm here to bullshit about Star Wars and throw it out into the void.
Yeah.
But my coworker's like, what if your fans start getting bored? I'm like, dude, you don't understand. We get like on one half of a scene and we'll talk about that for an hour.
Yeah.
And then we'll go on tangents about like the expanded universe.
This is my dream scenario in regards to this podcast. We continue on with this for like a long time with about the audience we have right now, which is a couple of friends. In like 30 years, my dream of this is like 30 years from now, a Reddit post or like whatever Reddit is at that point. Somebody is like, hey, so I found this weird podcast that's been happening for 30 years. And they've talked about Star Wars every week for like 30 years. You should check it out. God. That's my dream. I want like, even if it's after our deaths, some random person finds our fucking podcast and it's like, these crazy people did this consistently for like their lives. Maybe we should listen to it. That's my dream.
Fucking after the planet's gone, the aliens are gonna descend and realize the three of us and our sad existence on this podcast.
After the heat death of the universe, a hard drive is floating out somewhere next to Elon's 5th Tesla that he shot into space. And the aliens find a Tesla and a hard drive with this podcast.
And an AT-AT.
It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Oh, I'm gonna cry at the beauty. This has been
Josh,
Star
I
Wars.
promise you. Next time, because every time I'm in a relationship, it's always with someone who hasn't seen Star Wars. Next time I'm in a relationship, I'm making them sit down and at least listen to one rotation.
Fuck yeah.
Just to see what their grasp of Star Wars is at the end.
Oh, I'm so happy I could cry. This has been Star Wars every week forever. Good night. Hi, this is Josh again, once again with a suggestion. I'm reaching a little bit with this suggestion, but I found, not that long ago, I found a band that put out an album that I was really a fan of, and there's a lot of sci-fi references in it. So I thought I'd spread the love to our very small audience. The band is known as Sidewalk Furniture, and they put out an album this year called Reimagined Thrill. In it, there's a number of sci-fi references, probably the biggest of which is this very grungy song, Stormtrooper. So that would be the specific recommendation. But the entire album is really good. In particular, I like Jadzia. It's just sorrowful song in regards to Jadzia's death. If you've seen Deep Space Nine, it's kind of a fucked up situation. But they're pretty great. I'm a big fan of what I've seen. And they don't seem to have a lot of attention, so I thought I'd throw some love their way. You can find them on Spotify, but you can specifically buy the album on Bandcamp. sidewalkfurniture.bandcamp.com/album/reimagined/thrill. I also have a website, sidewalkfurniture.com, and I think you should support them, even if it's just streaming them on Spotify. They're pretty good. Okay, bye.
Their third most popular song on Spotify is called Tits Out, and I love it.